Good evening. Mayor Horton, members of the City Council, good to see you after not being here for a long time. My name is John McCandlish. I live on Fairway Drive in College Park, and the reason I want to come up and mention a couple of things this evening, it has to do with our trash collection on the Independence Day week, or week, I should say. Normally in College Park, we have our trash picked up on Tuesday each week. And that's even true when there's a Monday holiday as a rule because of the way the schedule runs. This past week, however, assuming that was going to be the case, we put our trash out on Tuesday the 5th, as did about most of the other people in the neighborhood. There was no trash picked up that day. So we rolled our can back up our hill to our garage that night because we don't like critters to get into the garbage. So when I was going out on Tuesday morning about 8 o'clock to go to work, I noticed that most of the people in the neighborhood had their trash out there, and I thought, well, maybe we had missed something, and Wednesday was going to be the day that the trash was going to be picked up. Well, when I came back that afternoon about 3, it had not been picked up. So I decided to try and find out what was going on, so I tried calling. First I looked in the phone directory to see who I could call, so when I finally found solid waste in the Verizon directory, and I realized directories are kind of ancient things these days, the only thing under the city listing on solid waste had to do with brush pickup, and I knew that was going to get me the building office, so there was not much reason to try and call there. I did call the city manager's office about 3:15. There was no answer there. So I went to the website, and I thought, well, maybe I've missed something. I went to the section where the news is. It's on the first page. Didn't see a thing. So I decided I'd delve into the web page a little bit, and when I started looking around, this is where I went. I went first to Public Works, and then I clicked divisions, and then I clicked solid waste and recycling, and finally, solid waste, which led me to the phone number for the sanitation supervisor, Greg Osborne, and a telephone number. So I dialed the telephone number, and I found a recorded message there saying that during that particular week, because of the holiday, that Monday's trash would be picked up on Wednesdays and Tuesday's trash would be picked up on Thursday, which seemed to answer the question as to what was going on. And lo and behold, our trash was picked up on Thursday. Also, in the past, we always gotten something in our utility bill saying when there was not going to be, or it's going to be a change in the schedule. Well, our utility bill for July arrived on Friday, July the 8th, 4 days after July the 4th. So there was not much of a help there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I appreciate all the good work that the people who work for the city of Radford do, and I truly mean that. And if they have an extra day off because of the holiday and the way it fell, I'm fine with that too. But I think what we have here perhaps is a case of poor communication on the part of the city, and I would simply encourage the city to maybe try and do a better job in the future of sharing information when something like this happens, because I was not the only one who had their trash out there for 2 or 3 days. Thank you. Yep, thanks.
Are there any other citizens that have a statement for public record?
Good evening to the City Council and all that are assembled. My name is Pastor Jerry Williams. I live at 837 14th Street. At the last meeting, I was here, and I gave a statement that our street had been bothered tremendously with speeders on it. But I have noticed in the last week here that, I don't know if it was Mr. Redpath, the city manager, there had a special sign posted out there down close to Forest Park. Ever since then, I've noticed cars coming up with the brake lights on instead of speeding, so it has helped drastically, and I want to say thank you.
Police officers also.
Okay. Thank you, policeman, whoever you are, and for your service.
Anyone else that has a comment from the public record? Seeing none, we will close that portion of the meeting, and we will have a council response for the messages as stated. I'll begin. I think I can address John's commentary. Yes, it was kind of an oddity this year with July 4th being the Monday and so July 5th being the holiday and several things being shifted, but I think we can work to improve the communication piece and maybe even have some more visible numbers that can be called and go from there. Do you have any commentary to make?
I just appreciated your going through all of the different clicks that you need, we can work on that. I think that that's a fair criticism. So
Jesse?
thanks for bringing it to our attention.
I mean, the same thing, we're always asking for people in the community, if there's ways that we can improve and be better as a city, then we certainly want to do it. So that kind of feedback is very important to us, and I encourage everyone to bring that kind of thing to our attention so we can indeed improve and provide the services that you deserve.
Absolutely. Dr. Harshberger?
I had the same thought about it being a two-day, an unusual two-day holiday there. But we should have a more user-friendly approach to get there, I think.
So long story short, we'll work on it. But thank you, John, and we do appreciate you bringing forward. And Mr. Wims, thank you very much for the commentary, and we're glad we were able to do a little bit to get that taken care of. And thank you to PD, and thank you to the city manager's office.
And that's the point too, that, you know, we only know there's a problem sometimes if people come forward and let us know what it is and give us any opportunity to make it right. So that's another instance where, you know, with the feedback we were getting in the community, it gave us the opportunity to improve things. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad you're seeing an improvement.
By the same token, we don't know that we're getting things right until somebody's come back and tell us.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Anything else? Okay, we will close that portion of the meeting and move on to the resolution. Our Radford Electric Department is celebrating its 100th anniversary, and we are so fortunate to have a wonderful team keeping us electrified, keeping the power on, keeping us moving forward. Dr. Harshberger, I believe you have a resolution to present.
I do. City of Radford proclamation, Radford Electric Department 100th anniversary. Where the pollen is getting to me a little bit. Whereas on June 11th, 1922, City Council unanimously approved the sale of Radford Water and Power Company's property rights and privileges to the City of Radford effective August 1, 1922, including $115,000 in electric utility bonds for a hydroelectric power plant and electric distribution system. And whereas the electric department constructed a diesel generating plant in 1930 and a new dam in 1934 for approximately $148,000 to generate electricity for the city. And whereas the 1934 dam exists today and is licensed to generate electricity through May of 2049. And whereas the Radford Electric Department provides our homes, businesses, social service agencies, and local government agencies with reliable, efficient, and cost-effective electricity employing sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible services. And whereas the Radford Electric Department employs 21 people and currently operates 12 electrical substations serving approximately 7,500 customers. And whereas the Radford Electric Department is a valuable community asset that contributes to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service reliability, environmental protection, economic development, and safety awareness. And whereas the Radford Electric Department is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operation provides many consumer protections and continues to make our community a better place to live and work by providing reliable power services. And whereas profits from the sale of electricity stay in Radford and help to fund city operations, keeping taxes low. And whereas the employees of the Radford Electric Department are dedicated to providing Radford residents and businesses with reliable electric service. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Radford does hereby proclaim August 1st, 2022 as the 100th anniversary of the Radford Electric Department and recognizes the department for its contributions to the community. Signed by David Horton, Mayor, to be adopted July 11th, 2022. Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt this proclamation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think this deserves a round of applause, and we're going to ask you all to come forward. Dr. Harshberger, come on down front. Why don't we join them and take a picture to celebrate this momentous occasion?
Oh, let's do that.
I don't think anyone could have read it with more enthusiasm
That's
either.
exactly right.
He
was charged up.
He was.
I really am a big fan of the electric department.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I don't think we can say thank you enough for all the work
An
that you
honor.
do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look,
Appreciate
I'm
you.
alive and honored.
Going in the wrong
Thank you.
direction here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Roy is actually my neighbor, and I can always tell the night before a storm how bad it's going to be because I'll hear that truck turning at 3 in the morning. And I get an email, electricity went down, but they fixed it, so thank you.
I just want to add to that, what great foresight that the council had in 1922 to do this, because not every locality did the same kinds of things. And we have been blessed by their foresight and their investment, and we just want to say thank you again to all of you for the hard work that you do and the work that you do to help keep us on that cutting edge and moving forward as a community. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. That's probably one of the departments we get the most compliments on.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely. Okay, council, you all have, under our old business, we have an appropriation ordinance. We actually have to have a public hearing before we go to that. We are going to address appropriation ordinance 1749.54, and this is purchases in the amount of $1,557,562 that relate to the electric department, information technology, our Tyler to East Main capital project, which is a paving project that we're looking at working on, Radford Transit, and various small general fund appropriations. So because we're carrying these funds into the current budget, an appropriation is needed, and they represent greater than 1% of the total city budget. So we're having a public hearing. This has been advertised. At this time, we will open the public hearing. The floor is open. If you want to come down and make a comment, please use the microphone and state your name for the record. Seeing no one coming down, we will close the public hearing for that appropriation ordinance 1749.54. We will open a second public hearing for our West Precinct polling place location, and members of our electoral board are here. Tracy Howard is here as the registrar and the Radford's election coordinator. The electoral board has recommended that we relocate the polling place for the West Precinct from Carter Street United Methodist Church to Compassion Church in Radford at 1820 2nd Street. And the reason for that is accessibility, size, parking, just a whole host of things to try to make sure that we take care of the voters in that precinct. First and foremost, I think we want to thank Carter Street United Methodist Church for all of their years of service and how appreciative we are of that congregation for supporting democracy in the city of Radford. We have advertised with a 45-day public hearing, so we are having a public hearing this evening. We will open the floor for folks to come down and make a comment, and please use the microphone and state your name for the record. Seeing no one come forward, we will go ahead and close the public hearing for the West Precinct polling change and move on to old business. Again, back to our appropriation ordinance. Council members, you have the ordinance, and David, if you'll talk just a little bit about what we have here. Again, it totals $1,557,562.
Yes, Mayor, as you had mentioned, as these are carried into the, from the previous fiscal year into the current fiscal year, appropriation is required for that. It does exceed 1%, requiring the public hearing. Mostly the reason these are carryovers from purchase orders due to the supply chain availability issues. Nearly all of them are that. The biggest thing that ran up the numbers is the buses for Radford Transit. Everything else is in the $100,000, $200,000 range. Do recommend you approve the encumbrances.
And just for that, the transit is a pass-through, that's money
Correct.
coming to us and going back out, and that's actually $1 million of the cost. So just to help people understand what we're doing with this $1.5 million. Any other questions, council members? Do we have a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 1749.54 in the amount of $1,557,562?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second to dispense with a second reading? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I am going to ask Tracy to come forward for just a moment so we can talk about this West Precinct polling place location change. If you don't mind coming down to the microphone so we can talk about that just a little bit. We kind of set the stage before the public hearing portion. No one came forward to have a discussion. Tracy, if you'll just kind of give us that overview again and talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pardon me, pollen. Yes, this is something that the electoral board has looked at over the course of a couple of administrations now, where West Precinct, that is polling place at Carter Street United Methodist Church, and we cannot say enough about them, and we thank them so much. They've been such team players. However, it is too small now. We are approaching quickly 3,000 registered voters in the west end of Radford. We have had traffic issues there. One of the not so small things is Carter Street is not ADA accessible. That has been operating under, well, we could fix it if we could, but we can't, so we're going to leave it alone. We can no longer do that. The ADA accessibility, the single entrance into the polling room, single entrance and exit, and that is a danger for the voters and the officers of election. We did survey several localities in the West Precinct, in the West Precinct area. Talked to a couple of churches. They just weren't interested in doing it. Compassion was interested in doing it. They do have the room, the parking, the accessibility, and that is a recommendation we have.
Thank you very much. Council members, are there any questions?
No, I think we all have been there and have noticed that there was
Absolutely.
those technical difficulties.
Yeah. The parking, I think, is
Very challenging.
Well, and I know with the handicapped accessibility, we have taken a Herculean effort to make sure that anyone who shows up has the opportunity to vote, even if they have not been able to get into the space, having observed that personally. I will just say, again, thank you so much to the congregation at Carter Street. That's where I cast my very first vote. And so that is a very special place, and we're so appreciative of those folks. Thank you so much to the folks at Compassion Church for considering our relocating to that site. If there are no further questions, we will consider a motion to adopt ordinance 1768 for the West Precinct polling place change.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Since there is none, all in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, yes, we have the choice to dispense with a second reading for this ordinance if so desired. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, the next two ordinances, we did have our first reading at our June 13th meeting. Ordinance 1766 and 1767 help address clutter and the trash and weed ordinances. So this takes care of two additional ordinances, trash and weed ordinance 1723 and receptacle provisions of the code ordinance 1725. David, would you talk just a little bit about ordinance 1766 and 67?
Yes, both of those deal with, one of the things we've been struggling with is cluttering yards, things like that, it don't always fall under that degree like it is now. So this better defines, matches the state code is the main reason we're bringing it into compliance. Matches the state code and then also carries it over into that second section with receptacles so that we can make sure that we've got it covered both ways. Now, one of the things we found is gone to court and gone through this process, we need to do that. As you know, there's no public hearing required. You have had your first reading on it. Tonight will be your second reading and we kick it along.
Okay. Council members, are there any questions? And at our last meeting, there was no concern on the part of the citizens. So as such, do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 1766?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 1767?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second for 1767. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, council members, we are going to move on to new business now, and we do have our fiscal year 2023 council meeting calendar. I have sent a note out to folks on this that I want us just to take a look. This is pretty much in line with where we've been the last few years, but I do want us to consider the fact that with our legal representation, it's currently set up that our attorney joins us only at the second meeting of each month. And many times when we only have one meeting, it takes place on the date that would be the first meeting of the month. That's not typically a concern, but we have had a significant number of legal issues we've had to address, and not having a representative present can bring some challenges to that. So I think it's fine if we want to consider adopting this calendar at this point, but I think it's worth revisiting. I have asked if there's a way we can look at this so that we have representation at some of the other meetings when we only have one meeting a month. And the conflict is where we have a contract with Sands Anderson and Mike Bedsall is our designated attorney. He is also designated at another locality on the first meeting of the month, which is why he can't just switch his days and be here then. So I don't know if there's been any work on this since I brought up the subject last week, but I think it is something we need to consider as we move forward. Hopefully we don't have as many legal issues in the next year, but you never know. Is there any further discussion?
I think that's a good point. I do wonder if we can reach out to them and see if they could send a different attorney, you know, if in a pinch, it's a possibility. You know, Mike, of course, works with us closely all the time, but if we really needed somebody, that might be an avenue that we could take.
Are we only really talking about those summer months? Is that our big
No, I mean, the
concern?
November and December meetings as well, or first
So,
month.
I mean, why can we not just continue with the legal counsel we have and just change it to the second?
Well, I'm thinking.
Is there a reason we can't?
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Thanksgiving and Christmas, those dates. That's what I was
Are they
thinking.
going to be
That's
on
part
it?
of the
holidays.
That's a big issue.
That's a big issue.
Right.
So I think that's the challenge. It's not something we have to solve tonight. I just wanted to bring up the point that I think it's something we need to address. I hope we don't have as many issues we have to talk about, but we may very well. And I actually kind of like it if it can be Mike being
I
here
do.
since
I
he
don't
represents us
disagree.
across the board.
So can we
May and
maneuver the
June.
summer? I mean, that
Would you
would
all
take.
wanna talk about
That would
that?
take care of some of the issue, maybe not all of it, but it would certainly
We can
remedy.
look at that.
So do we have the calendars for May and, just so that we can make sure that we're avoiding holidays?
May would be a Memorial Day, but I mean,
That's-
I don't think June, I mean, obviously,
May 22nd would not be, since the second Monday of 2023 in May is the 22nd, I don't think that would be a Memorial Day issue. I think Memorial Day would be the 29th. And then
We also
for
need to look at June.
June, July, and August, yeah.
and
I mean,
June.
July and August will be next year, the following year. But yeah, the June date, would there be any reason that the 26th wouldn't work? Actually, no, you're right. The 29th would, no, I'm correct on May. The 26th of June, would that be an acceptable date?
Do we have any idea? I wouldn't.
I don't know of anything that would interfere with, off the top of my head.
it's going to be,
I mean, it's right before the 4th, obviously, but
Not that close.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
pull up the calendar, holiday calendar. I was looking at that.
I just think we move the ones that we can.
I think
And-
that's fine.
And that's a huge improvement to struggling for, 4 or 5 months with it, so.
That would break that up for you, rather than having one meeting a month for May, June, July, and August. Would be, give you 2 meetings and.
Well, we would still have just one meeting, we'd just move
We'll
it to
move
the
it to the
second week
second.
instead of the first week. So from April to the May meeting, we would have a full month, rather than going ahead with the May 8th meeting, we would move that to the 22nd of May, and then look at moving the June meeting from the 12th to the 26th.
And we always, if we need to, we've had the flexibility
Schedule
to
additional
schedule another
meetings.
if we need
Right.
it.
The other option would be to keep the first meeting of the month and just go in and schedule a second meeting and decide to cancel that down the road if we wanted to.
Which is easier for you all? Does it make any difference?
Established schedule helps, then we
Why don't we schedule just 2 additional meetings in May and June, and then we can decide if we want to cancel one of them? Would that be better? Because then that way it's on everybody's calendar. We don't have to worry about advertising, because we'll already have the advertisement out there for the meetings, and we can go from there. Does that sound reasonable? And then, as needed, we can cancel that first monthly meeting if needed, or if there is no legal issue, we could cancel the second monthly meeting. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt the calendar as amended so that the May and June timeframe would contain 2 meetings each?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? A motion, do we have a second?
Oh, second.
A
I will
motion and
second.
a second? Any further discussion?
I just want us to be vigilant to make sure that we do cancel so that
Yeah.
staff can get a break if we
Sure,
don't
I
need
get
those dates.
that. So we have a motion and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So that takes care of that, and thank you all for considering that. I felt a little uncomfortable just because we've had so much going on, and
Yeah.
it kind of delays our ability to get answers on where we need to go. So this takes care of that problem. I do have some information here about our water plant, the chemical beds. So obviously, we have our own water plant here in the city of Radford. We treat water. We use 118 tons of a chemical to purify the water, to make sure it is taken care of. Suppliers are very limited, so we received 2 bids. One from a company named Chimera for 26 cents per liquid pound, and one from USALCO, USA LCO, for 26.9 per liquid pound. So it's a little bit more expensive. But the total cost of $50,000 was programmed in the budget. We think we want to go with the USA LCO bid because it's a slightly different product from what Chimera is offering, and it's a little more reliable in availability. Do I have that correct, David?
That's correct.
Okay. So the plan would be to award the contract for USA LCO for .269 per liquid pound. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
So we have a motion to award the bid to USA LCO. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. We have won, how many gold awards? 5. And so we should never question, there's a reason we get these gold ones, and that's because we do follow the recommendations of the people who really know what they're doing to get us those gold awards. So I think we're doing exactly the right thing on this.
That's very good.
Absolutely. Any further discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Council, we have to look at boards and commissions. We have several vacancies on the Agency on Aging. We have 1 open position, 1 alternate. Airport Commission, 1 open position. Beautification has 4 open commissions, open positions. Library Board has 1 full citizen, 2 citizen positions and 1 teen rep. EDA has 3 positions available. Recreation has 2 positions available. Building Code Board of Appeals, 1-year term available. Planning Commission has 1 seat. City University Joint Commission has 1, and Tourism has 2. Do what?
I don't know why I just didn't put one file.
So there's three in
Yeah, all
planning
three of
commission.
them have
Okay,
said
that's why I had a
interested.
question there, and
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, that's me.
Okay.
They have three
Just
going
wanted to
off.
make sure. All right, that's fine. I was trusting you, so I went by your
I
statement.
had a big question mark there.
Okay, so as such, we know that Marianne Simonis is interested in another term for the Agency on Aging, as is Sally Anna Stapleton. Any discussion on that?
They have both served admirably in those positions, and I'm very happy that they're willing to serve again.
So Dave Bryant has put his name forward as a potential. At any point, do we want to look at that to get other citizens involved? I know you made your recommendation, Dr. Harshberger. Is there any further discussion on that?
We have had this conversation,
We have,
especially
every
about
year.
these two every year. And I'm so grateful for their, we have the same problem every single year about being very, very grateful, we benefit from their knowledge and experience. I also want to be conscious that this is a position that other people might want to hold.
So how would you propose that we look at that?
I don't know that there's any easy solution. How many times how long have both of them served, do we know?
10 years each.
Years each.
About 10 or 11, like they've all, because they're one-year terms, so basically. like,
Right.
their terms are still 10 or
Yeah.
Are there, do we have limits?
Not for this commission, I don't believe. Now, some of our commissions, normally it's been 3 terms and then we ask to turn it over. But a lot of times they're three-year terms. So that's 9 or 10 years as well.
Well, I don't know any of these individuals personally, and Dr. Harshberger, I hear you speaking up and singing their praises, and so that does say a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I'm the chair of the advisory council that works closely with them, so I like working with them.
Would there be any chance that there might be an additional alternate or additional role that Dave could serve on, with the idea that he might have an opportunity to serve in the formal position at some point?
He has indicated, of course, he's not interested in anything
Else.
more than 1 year.
Right.
We could check and see if there's an at-large
Okay.
position available.
I think that would be a great solution.
You know, I thought that his letter to us was very interesting, and I thought that it brought an interesting perspective that would be appreciated on the Agency on Aging.
Yeah.
So if we could check, I think that would be a really good solution.
So what I would be comfortable with is going ahead with the appointments that we have and
Yeah.
seeing if there's a possibility for an additional appointment
Yeah,
for
I'll
an
see if
at-large
there
position.
might be an at-large one open, because some of the localities have not filled their positions, I
Right.
think. So we might be able to work something like that. I'll contact Tina and
Thank you.
see if that can be.
Thank you very much.
All right. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. I'd like to talk through all these, and then we can go ahead and approve en masse, so that can move us along a little further. Airport Commission, we have one interested citizen, Brian Bayhall, so I think that sounds like a great match to me.
Yep.
Yes,
His
and
resume
yes,
certainly
his-
looks
Yeah.
like a great match
His
too.
qualifications are
Absolutely.
exemplary.
Yes.
So we have 4 positions on beautification. Dave Winston has indicated that he is interested in stepping down from his role. I don't have any additional names at this time, but Mrs. Yor has said that she would like to have another term on the board. If there are other citizens that we're unable to place, perhaps we could reach out to them to serve in some of the vacant roles. For the library board, I believe Wilson is the only one who has had multiple terms. I think Isabel Calfee and Claudia Jones were new the last time we did these appointments. So I think that would be still a good solution. I don't know how you all feel about that.
Wilson's the chair of that
Right.
board, if that helps you. at
Which
all,
one are we,
too, so.
Well, library board,
I think that
I,
reappointing all 3 would be great. The resumes submitted by the other 2 were also very impressive.
Yep.
So if we could see if there are any other places that they might be able to serve, that would be great.
they both are highly qualified. Linda and Beverly are both
yes.
highly qualified.
For our EDA, we have 3 members who are interested in another term, so I think that
Yes.
pretty much solves itself on that one. Recreation Commission, again, we have two individuals, no correspondence from Mark, but Joseph is interested in another term.
And Nancy is.
Nancy has expressed her interest, and she has a very extensive
Extensive
resume,
resume.
and I like the fact that her research with gerontology could help us with our senior center as well with the recreation facility, so I think Joseph and Nancy make a lot of sense there for
Yes.
that.
I did reach out to Sheriff Armentrout, who serves on that commission, to see if he had had any communication with Mark. He said that he thought that he was interested, but hadn't had any direct conversation. I haven't, and it's my understanding we haven't
You
gotten any.
communicated with everybody, so.
Yeah, so I think that if you want to stay interested, we've got enough people, you've
Yep.
got to tell us you're interested.
Yep. For our Building Code Board of Appeals, Chris is interested in another term. I think that sounds
fine.
perfectly fine. Planning Commission is an interesting one, and that's going to certainly be something that I think we can look at. Are we limited by code as to how many members can serve on the Planning Commission?
Yes.
Can we have alternates? That's not allowed with Planning Commission.
That's also state code driven.
Okay.
Just serving on that commission, I would say that we have a very active commission right now, and all three of these individuals bring very valuable experience.
All contributed heavily.
They do, and we're also in the middle of working through our zoning ordinances right now. I would really hate to interrupt that, and they are all exemplary members, so I would encourage us to reappoint Seth Berry and Annie.
Okay. I would like to consider some sort of process. I know it's driven by state code, but I think it would be great. We do have a number of members of Planning Commission who are seeking additional office that might make it challenging for them to continue to serve. So at that point, we will have to consider some other things down the road potentially. So
We've already started joking about that.
I've already heard about that. So I do think that's something to think about, and it makes sense for folks to continue to come to meetings with the understanding that there may be opportunities moving further down the road.
Yeah.
Robert Towle is interested in another term on the City University Joint Commission. I think that sounds fantastic.
That's fine. And he fills the one for the East End, so
Yep.
that's good.
And then Chrissy and Scott are interested in the Tourism Commission. I think you serve with both
They
of them.
actually, so I have not been able to confirm that either one of them is interested. I actually heard from Scott. Scott was very happy to be able to be appointed to the board, but his schedule prohibits him from being able to really attend.
Okay.
Christy, again, sporadic attendance, and we have not heard from Christy specifically either.
Okay.
So having said that, Kelsey, her resume looks phenomenal, and I'm sorry I don't have her last name in front of me,
Yeah,
but
Marletta.
her resume
Marletta.
looked like she would be a great fit, and I've spoken with Amanda about joining, and she was interested in
She'd be a
doing
good
that.
fit,
So, given that we've had two commission members who are currently not the most active and two people who are really interested, I would say Kelsey and Amanda.
Okay, I'm fine with that as well.
Fine with that,
Yeah.
too.
Okay, so, having looked at that, do you have any clarity as to what we're doing at this
I
point?
got it.
Okay, so do we have a motion to adopt the appointments as discussed during this component of the meeting?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? A
Second.
motion and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I do want to thank all of our citizens for participating. We do still have a number of vacancies on the Beautification Commission. I would encourage folks, you are able to attend the meetings whether you're an official member or not. The same for all the other pieces. These are open, published meetings. Rec Commission, Tourism Commission, Joint Commission, all of these we encourage folks to come to with the understanding that there may be opportunities to work on projects, even if you're not a full commission member, and then to work into commission roles as well. So, but thank you to everyone who submitted their information. We have some absolutely wonderful folks to take a look at. And I would like to, Jenny, if you don't mind, anyone who submitted something to reach out to them to let them know that we do have seats on the Beautification Commission if they would be so interested. Okay? All right. Thank you all very much. Moving forward, let me get my notes back in order. We got a lot of paper going on.
Yeah.
We are looking at appropriation ordinance 1763.0 63.01 in the amount of $4,241. That's a local law enforcement grant from the Department of Criminal Justice Services. This should be speed enforcement with radar equipment. So, David, do you want to share any information about that or anything additional?
Pretty much that's the main thing. There's no match involved in this, which is always good, and it would be specific to radar equipment.
Okay. Council, do you all want to consider, or do we have a motion to consider appropriation ordinance 1763.01?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So you may have noticed there's only 4 of us sitting up here this evening. Forrest Height, councilman, has submitted his resignation. It was effective over the weekend. We are very thankful for his service. We wish him and his family well as he looks to relocate to another state, and hope that his adventure continues in a very positive manner. And we're thankful that he has given us the heads up and the time for us to move forward. So council has to do a couple of things. We have a 30-day window beginning effective the date of the resignation. So I believe midnight Saturday was the resignation, so I think we have until midnight on August the 9th, but I'm not, or August the 8th, because there's 31 days in July. But having said that, I would like to make sure that we have enough time to address that so we don't run into any hiccups or anything along that line. Couple of things that have to happen. We need to look at appointing someone to fill the term. It is more than 120 days prior to the election. So that sets some other things into motion. I'm going to ask Tracy if he'll come back forward and explain a little bit about how the seat will be filled based on code, city code, and charter and statute, and then we'll talk about our role.
It's a shame that Mike is not here this evening, because he and I have hashed this out and hashed this out. Apparently, there's a little section in the Code of Virginia that says notwithstanding any charter provision to the contrary. For Radford's charter provision, we think was put together in the 20s when council went from 3 members to 5 members and started staggering terms. We're one of 2 cities in Virginia that has this particular provision, where all of the members or all of the potential candidates are thrown into a bucket, and the voters choose them 1 and 2 for the full terms, and 3 and 4 will serve the unexpired terms. And that's Charter Provision 2.2-4, I believe. What this does, because the charter provision allows that if the vacancy occurs 120 days prior to the election, a election to fill the vacancy shall take place. What that does is under 24.2 state code, it opens the filing period for a time period to end, I want to say this right, to end 80 days prior to the election, which our estimation is August the 19th, and that is a Friday. So what this does, it opens things back up to anyone seeking a term on city council. Because the charter and the code do not mesh well, this is the plan that we have come up with, because we have to follow one or the other. All the attorneys, the Attorney General's office, the Department of Election, they say follow the charter. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to open the filing back up. It will not be a special election. It will be a general and special election. The current 7 candidates for city council may be joined through August the 19th, and it is very possible that one of those candidates gets one of the full terms. But because the charter is silent on holding separate special elections, that's the way we'll have to do this. So, any questions? Oh, we beat this thing to death.
So I know these have been very unusual circumstances, and we have some precedents. Hopefully that'll make the process the second
Right.
time a little easier. But when you're saying that we're one of 2 locations that has this, and it was, you know, is this antiquated? Is this something we need to
Well, it's
update?
incredibly antiquated, please.
Okay.
Please get our delegate and our senator to file a charter amendment in the General Assembly this January.
Okay.
Most city charters do indicate that elections shall be per the general laws of the Commonwealth in 24.2. Radford City and the city of Buena Vista are the only 2 charters that I could find with this particular provision where you throw everybody in one bucket, 1 and 2 come out, and the 3rd and 4th to fill those unexpired terms. And we really think it was from the 30s or 40s when those city councils began to be staggered.
I thought that's what you were politely trying to say.
Yeah, it's
Point of clarification.
Yes.
Now, the mayor runs as a separate thing, so that's closed, isn't it?
That's exactly right. June 21st was the deadline
June
for that.
21st was the deadline
And
on that.
unless there is another vacancy in that office. that
Well,
would
I have an
open that.
announcement I'd like to make.
No, and school board as well. Those deadlines are passed, they're closed because those are general
Good,
elections.
okay.
Okay, are there any additional questions for Tracy?
Thank you, Tracy,
Yeah,
for
thank you so much.
making
and-
something that's clear as mud a little
You guys-
bit clear.
You guys think, Mike, I mean, he
That
went
date was August 21st, if somebody asked.
August 19th.
That's a Friday,
So,
August 19th.
We really have a couple of things. Our council has one task to begin the work on this evening. Then there's certainly the electoral piece. It would make sense if we were able to get some statements out regarding both processes within the next day or so. So once we've decided what we're going to do here, I think that makes sense for the temporary appointment to fill the seat until the election and the qualification of the elected member, because that could be complicated in itself as well. And then a statement from the electoral board as to how the election will run. Basically,
Exactly.
what you've said here this evening.
we're
But I
happy
think
to
it's
do
good to
that.
have both of those statements together so there's no confusion, even though they'll come from different offices,
Plus, we will
obviously.
be posting this in the explanatory form.
Right.
In each of the precincts on
Right.
election day. It will be in the office for early voting.
Right.
I had raised a question, I sent it out to everybody, about what candidates we have to fill this position, this 5th position right now, until November 8th. And we have a number of 8 people right now who have, I think,
Yes, 7.
seven people, yeah. And is it a fair thing to exclude them from consideration for this temporary appointment? Would that make it unfair to somebody else? Because an appointment of one of them
Yes.
to this position, temporary position, would actually enhance would take away maybe some of the evenness of consideration in the election.
Dr. Harshberger, I appreciate that, and that is one thing that we always in elections strive for is fairness. And in this election, that's gone out the window. Quite frankly, this should be 2 separate special elections for 2 separate unexpired seats. But due to the charter provision, we're beholden to that. I don't know, that gets out of the election realm into the political realm, and I try not to go there.
And I think that's for us to discuss here, to talk about what rules we want to establish as a council
So
for
we don't
that.
have-
But I appreciate it, and I appreciate the question, and I appreciate the answer, Tracy. This is a very difficult thing because we're dealing with several different areas, and we want to try to treat the citizens of Radford as fairly as they can be treated, give everybody the best opportunity, provide the best information, which is why I had wanted to kind of have this as a full discussion this evening, including what's going to happen with the election. So is there anything else pertaining to the election process itself and the way that we're going to go through this?
There is just one more thing that I think I should clarify. The number 1 and number 2 vote getters, and this everybody in the same bucket, they will not be eligible to serve until January 1, when their term would
Right.
begin. Wherein the two unexpired terms, numbers 3 and 4 from this bucket, they would be eligible to serve immediately upon their qualification.
Right.
And it's the certification of the electoral board and then the qualification of that candidate. So it brings up the very unusual circumstance that one of the members seated here now would not be eligible until January, or would be eligible immediately, lose their seat, and that seat opens.
But would they
For
be
that 2-month
required to
term.
qualify immediately, or could that be the elected person's choice to say, I'm not going to qualify until time for the January seat?
That is another answer we're waiting from
Okay.
the state,
Okay.
the Attorney General's office.
And so
I feel
they,
like as long
Easter?
as they qualify prior to the organizational meeting in January, that would be fine.
Okay.
Which, you know, looking back at your council calendar meeting here this evening,
Yep.
get to do that again in January.
That's true.
you know.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, so council members, we have a couple of things we need to do this evening. We need to determine if we want to use a process similar to the process we used when Onassis Perez resigned his council seat and we appointed Dr. Harshberger. And then we need to establish a timeline and pick some dates to make that happen. So first and foremost, let's open the floor for the discussion on the process. When we went through this 9 months ago, we discussed several possibilities, and we came up with a process where we would essentially open a time period for any citizen to nominate, self-nominate, to let us know who they think should be serving in the role, to let us know anything that they feel like we should know. And all of that would be routed to Jenny as our clerk, and she would then provide that to all the members of council. At the close of that time period, the council would then deliberate, and because we're talking about employment of specific individuals, those would be closed sessions for us to deliberate and maybe even discuss with the candidates to determine if we want to have interviews, and if we want to have interviews, to then have that interview process. Again, personnel issues, so at that point, that is still a closed session. And then we would come back into an open session to actually make a final decision, to nominate someone and to vote on that individual. That, in general, is our process we established last time. Would that be a process we would want to consider again this time?
If I may say so, I was very proud of the way that we handled it last time. I thought it was a very good process, and I think that we're early enough in the discussion now that we will be able to do something very similar, if not exactly the same, with time to spare. I think that we're in a very good space.
Time frame. I agree with you, this is a good process. The time frame, is there any way to expedite it some?
So here's the problem I have. I am not available any evening next week until the 22nd. I am available additional evenings this week, but I don't think that would be enough time to get a statement out and to solicit information to come in. And as such, I was going to propose, if you all don't want to meet on Friday night, the 22nd, then looking at the week of the 25th through the 29th to see if anybody is available during those evenings.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking that we could have a meeting on the 25th to discuss any interviews that we would like to conduct interviews sometime either that week or on the 1st of August, and then.
Was the 25th a day you were not available?
I would be okay the 25th. I might be out of town that first week in August. And what I wanted to mention about our process, I think, we really spent a great deal of time hammering it out, and it really was a little bit of concession from everyone to get the process where we felt it was fair, and I agree with you. I think it was considering as seamless as you could hope under the circumstances.
Is the
Monday
25th?
the 25th, I'm on my way back from Williamstown, Massachusetts.
Would it be
That
better
day.
to schedule for Tuesday, the 26th?
It's fine.
Yes, for me it would.
Are you available?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
do it.
Let's plan for We can go earlier that day if that works for everybody, 5:30 on the 26th. Is that okay?
Yep.
Were you going to be gone, Jenny?
No, it's okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, we're just trying to get this thing figured out. So let's go in and meet on the 26th, if that's possible, at 5:30. And then tentatively, let's schedule interviews, should we choose to do it, for the 28th. Would that be acceptable for everybody to put on the calendar, knowing that we could move that if necessary?
That works for me.
That should be fine.
Okay. So the 26th at 5:30, and then the 28th, time to be determined based on that meeting. But again, we'll plan to meet at 5:30 on that day and then see where we go from there. So having said that, time is of the essence. Jenny, if you could try to craft a statement similar to what we put out when Onassis resigned his seat and we solicited information from the citizens. Just for those that are here this evening and those that may be watching online, what we are looking for is nominations, rationale for why those individuals should serve on council, self-nominations if so desired. You can put your own name forward and the rationale for why you should serve. And then anything anyone wants to let us know that, you know, so-and-so should serve, so-and-so shouldn't serve, whomever. We are not going to put the names out there. We are just asking you to give us whatever information you would like to have. And I think that's appropriate for us to just be informed and to move forward from there rather than to say, this is who we're considering, make statements. So I feel good about that if you all do. And I think this solves some of that timeline. I know it's tight, but I really would like to maybe even hold the special meeting to make the appointment either on the 28th or that, if you're available that first week of August, so that we're not right up against the deadline, should there be some situation that would then cause us to exceed our 30 days and go from there. Okay? So is your schedule looking like that first week of August? That might not be a possibility.
I'm in the process of moving my mother here,
I
so
gotcha.
I was potentially gone that week, but
Okay.
I can check with her and see about, you know, if we need to, since the next week is kind of the deadline.
deadline.
Yeah, I can see about how
I
that
am
would
already
work.
committed on August 4th and 5th, but I'm available the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd if need be. But again, that's something we can discuss a little further along. Depending on what we decide on the 26th, we may be able to do everything on the 28th and move forward from there, just again, to see what we receive and where we go. So this is a tight timeline, but I think it is a fair timeline considering that this person would only serve August, September, October, potentially into November, depending on how the election would go. And then we would go from there. Okay? We got a lot going on. Okay, any further questions or comments regarding the council vacancy? Jenny, do you have any questions on what we're trying to do?
No, I am on vacation starting tomorrow, so I will do this going down the road, I guess. So,
Okay.
just to let you know. So, but I'll have my computer and.
Okay.
take care of it. Yep.
Sorry,
It's fine.
it's Forrest's fault. Sorry. All right, that's it for the regular portion of the meeting. David, what comments do you have this
Just
evening?
a couple of quick things. Very successful July the 4th, great crowd, more than 10,000. Fireworks spectacular. I think that's probably one of the biggest hits we've gotten. It's that expanded fireworks show that we've now done for the past 3 years. So many thanks to all of our departments for making that work, and it's just a
How
special
many
event.
were there? How many did you?
In excess of 10,000, for sure. Couple of other quick things, East Main Street, we've got the whole thing done out.
Yeah.
Dug through 2 feet of concrete and asphalt, putting soil back in, that's just so we can get the curbing put in. We'll remediate that with some topsoil, as time goes on. Hoping the concrete work will be underway mid to late next week. Keep our fingers crossed on that. Check our website, a lot of big events coming up, movie night this Friday, 80s band next week. Farmers Market's been doing great. We started the concerts at the gazebo. So a number of different things that are going on the next bit. Dave mentioned the.
I'm going to talk about it all.
You got that. And then also, I asked Jenny, she say something briefly about Channel 11. It's back up again.
Yes, so Channel 11, we renewed our contract with Radford University. We're working to update and make that cable access channel a little more user-friendly. There's still some hiccups in the road, but we're working on it. And we have a 1-year contract with them, so we're working to make that the best channel, put our info out, and really share the things going on in our community. The Welcome to Radford video is on there. So just trying to pull not only from like just our social, but what community social media is highlighting, fire, rec, tourism, and just highlighting our special events as well as like changes, the drop center, and everything Radford. So we're working on it. It's a process, but we're getting there.
Absolutely.
And,
And I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jenny. So, yeah, we're gonna, really, that channel's gonna look really good as we continue to add movies and things like that, programming to that next bit. Rail passenger meeting today, going very well. It's advancing quickly. Don't anticipate any issues, but, we will be getting something where we need to appoint 2 members to the authority. Y'all will recall we approved that, all of last year. It's now ready to advance. We'll be getting something on that shortly, so just be thinking about a couple of members. Most likely it's gonna be an elected official and maybe a staff member to start with, I think. We're sure we talked about bonding and that sort of thing, but, don't know for sure. We'll get something on that shortly.
Sounds
I
good.
think that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Tammy, what do you have?
I just had a question. Mr. McCandlish's concern about notification made me think of something. Using our new Smart 911 system, we can send out emergency alerts. Are there ways that we can use that to send out just citizen practical alerts for things such as?
We can if we want them to subscribe to that. I think,
It would need to be an opt-in. We don't want to spam people.
correct, it would need to be an opt-in, and I think that's something if like, that's a philosophy or a route you guys want to take, we can do that. I have mixed feelings on mixing an emergency alert system
Right.
with a general notification system. It's all coming from the same contact number, so
I
I don't
agree.
want people when they get that phone call or text message to think it's something, so. But yes, there is a way within that to just subscribe to like a general notification bulletin, and if people wanted to sign up for trash collection, we could start, and we could try and see what happens. Yeah.
I agree with you that we want to be very careful with how we expand that. I don't know if there's a different way that we could, I'm just thinking about the way that I live my life. If I get a utility bill, I put it in a pile where about 2 days before it's due, I remember that I've got to pay my bill, and I never ever get the actual notification, and I never ever remember that trash is going to be going out on a different day. And I certainly never check the website before I put the trash out. So there may be more efficient ways that we can provide that notification, and the alerts are one way. I don't know if we want to.
I mean, our website has a notify me feature too, so we could always set up a listserv and see if people wanted to sign up for like a notify me feature where we could send out, just those trash solid waste collection.
That might be worth
Channel
exploring.
11, right?
And it was on channel 11.
I mean, so maybe what we do is, because, we've been a little bit start and stop with it, that may be something that we push out and promote a little bit greater.
Yeah, I do
to
think
check
that
it.
that's worth exploring and just figuring out better ways, because it is frustrating to people to have to put their trash in and out. And that's just, it's a simple thing, but it's one of those annoyances that'll start your day on the wrong foot. That's it.
Okay. Jesse, what do you have?
I am just going to get the latest numbers from the Department of Social Services to everybody. And also, the Heritage Foundation, as you guys may know, that we're doing our annual membership drive. And so I wanted to make sure that everyone had one of these. And if you're not a member, encourage you to join. They have a lot of events coming up. I'll leave a couple of these out front. We have Mary Draper Ingalls Festival coming up, and that is July 29th through the 31st. So we'd love to see everyone out there. And I'll keep it short and sweet tonight, but I will put a couple of these out if anyone wants to see some of the events we have coming up.
Okay. Dick, what do you have?
Following up on what we were just saying about the Heritage Foundation and the Glencoe and the Mary Draper Ingalls Festival. If you go on the YouTube, every week there's a short session on Mary Draper Ingalls, written and given by my wife. Kathleen, and it takes you through the 42 days of the journey and ties in with the idea of, it took 42 days to get back here. She actually takes it the whole way through. It's very interesting, and it's available on the website. The other thing I was going to mention is in talking with people at the university, there's a real interest in seeing a sign put as we come across the bridge for Radford University. Now, we've got that old electronic sign is no longer working. We could put a sign up there. I'm not talking an electronic one, I'm just saying you could use that base and put a sign up there for Radford University that shows that it's here in Radford. And it was requested, and I think the president has picked up on that. So can we look at that as a possibility?
Tell you what, let me take it to beautification, and we can have a discussion about that as part of the overall
Okay.
design, and then we'll talk and see what we can figure out.
Yeah, I can see their request. Coming across from Pulaski, there is no indication that there is a university in the city. And that's what they...
Well, and we're going to be talking about signage anyway. We're looking at our directional signage and some other pieces throughout the city, so it could potentially be all encompassed within that.
Yeah,
So,
the East Main project does have wayfinding
Yeah.
on there, so that would add, it's gonna be a lot different from what we got.
right. All right, anything else?
That's all.
Thank you, thank you. Well, David kind of mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to point out, and we've talked about Mary Draper Ingalls Weekend. This is significant not just for the city of Radford. This is a state-designated celebration for the last weekend in July, and so hopefully we can celebrate in a lot of different ways. I know there's going to be some events at Long Way Brewing. We're going to have some events here at the Heritage Park, and a whole host of activities coming up.
Oh, I was just going to say the farm will be open.
Yep, the farm will be open. There's going to be a lot of things. So check out the website, but also check out our social media pages. Check out the Information and Welcome Center site, and they're going to have a lot of great information for that. This Friday is Clifford the Big Red Dog right out here on Glencoe Lawn. The first movie night was great. This will be fun. It's a totally free movie for folks to come out and enjoy. And then next Saturday is the third of our concert series with 80s cassette rewind. So get your big hair and your parachute pants and your fun jackets and shoulder pads out and come on out and have a good time. The concert held in June was very well attended, as was the one in May. And so I think this is a good harbinger for the tourism piece that we're looking at with music and just a lot of things going on. I wanted to add my thanks to everyone from the city who worked so hard on the 4th of July. That is a massive event. Folks don't realize how big that is. And we're really, really appreciative of all the people doing great things with that. We've got a lot going on in Radford. There are a lot of good things happening. Please stay tuned for more information about everything that is taking place. We're going to be talking more about downtown Radford and possibly even having some work sessions coming up soon. In our August meeting, we are going to be inviting President Danilovich to join us, and we are going to open up some things to invite some folks. I know we're still working on all the details, but we hope you can be here to meet him and to hear some of his vision for the combined Radford City and Radford University community and how we can work together. There was a story in the Roanoke Times, as well as some news reporting on WDBJ, I believe, and WSLS, talking about it, and he frequently talks about the desire to be more integrated within the Radford community and to work on economic development and how the university and city can partner together for the benefit of both organizations. So I think that's a real positive for us moving forward, and we'll see where we can go. So thank you all so much. With that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, if I may add one
Yes.
other thing, on August 19th, be watching for that. There's a book signing here in our chambers here, and it's going to be live streamed.
Okay.
For a new book out on the Whartons, the Wharton letters.
Okay. Wonderful. Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that in August. So motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say good night.
Good
Good night.
Thank you all very much.